the reins of power. 2030 looked like very far away. And as a country, we started running towards 2030. Now, 2030 is just 6 years away from us. And I see now the government is starting to put in place things that they are saying. Now, we are going back to Vision 2030. Just how important is it for us to go back to this? And the fact that we are going back to Vision 2030. So what vision were we implementing?
Thank you, Fred. A very good question, because it is actually a confusion. In fact, to many people, when you ask them about what is Vision 2030, they don't even understand what it is. Because the first thing is that if you are talking about a Vision 2030, let it be clear, what is it that you are talking about?
In terms of leadership, when you put a vision, what you're saying, it has to be very clear to all.
It has to be very clear. In fact, you know, there is something that we call, in vision, there is something that we call buy-in. If you want people to buy in your vision, you must be able to allow people also to participate, to understand exactly what you are talking about. In fact, right now, you can even get to the Vision 2030, but people don't understand whether you got there or you are not there, because in the first place, they don't know what you are chasing. So the thing is, Vision 2030 was a good blueprint, which was there. And one of the things you can see is like the Konza City.
Yes.
It was actually going to be a hub.
The Konza City was supposed to be actually part of
it was
Vision
actually
20.
supposed to be a big hub for the IT. And many countries were supposed actually to come and set their base in this place. I can tell you, like the Konza City, if you go there, you will be amazed. Okay, there is something which is happening. Actually, every other month there is something that is happening in the Konza City.
Yes.
But I can tell you it is it is going to take quite a lot of time. Because right now what I know they are doing in Konza City, it is actually cabling. They are doing the cabling, the underground and all that. So when you go there, you will not see whether there is anything that is happening. But they are doing a lot of cabling so that the investors, and I am not sure whether they have gotten those investors, the investors will come and now they start building and actually setting the factories, setting the, you know, the offices and all those kind of things. So what we are saying is that, and when I was in school and I was doing strategies, and it is actually in the strategy where the vision also is in a very big way, we were taught about the main problem in everything that you talk about is one word, implementation. You can have so many good things.
Grandiose.
Yes, and they can look good. But if you don't have a strategy, a proper strategy of implementation, you will fail. And we were given an example. I remember my professor, Professor Aosa. He told us about a certain young man when he was talking about implementation in strategy.
Yes.
He taught us about a young man who wanted to get married. And he told us, this young man, when he wanted to get married, what did he do? He actually came up with a blueprint for himself. And he said,
a blueprint?
Yes.
For how he was going to get married.
How to approach the lady. And he said, when I get to her, these are the things I'm going to say. And he actually wrote them down. And he started cramming them. And he said, when I get there, the first thing when she opens the door, I will actually address her in this manner. And now, let me tell you, when the day came for him to go and visit the girl was actually in a very bad mood. so the thing is, by the time he knocked the door and the girl was coming out, he got actually confused totally. He forgot about the blueprint 100% and he was unable to implement. So that day he achieved nothing. So what we are saying is, implementation is actually the hardest part in every strategy, in every vision. When it comes to implementation, it is the hardest. And what we are saying is, right now, we can be chasing the 2030 vision. But there are so many other things which are important right now, which we need to be chasing. Because you see, even in terms of the budgeting, all these things, we call these roaring things.
Yes.
In fact, even in budgeting, we call it lowering budget. Mm-hmm. And sometimes what we say is that after some time you review and you see, is these strategies, this vision of mine really going to get us where we are? Mm. Because the situations which you are in right now, are they actually going to align to that vision? And you see, if you don't align with the visions, and some of the things you can say, here, we wanted to get there by this means, and that is what we call the mission. Mm-hmm. We wanted to get there by this means, but looking at the way the things are, there are some other things that we need to tackle. And I can tell you, one of the things, I know this government is actually trying to raise around 16.8 trillion. Actually, 16. Yes, for this 2030, so that they can achieve that. The question that you need to ask yourself, how are you going to raise this money? Mm. Because we need to be growing. And we were talking here and we were saying, let's first of all see what is it that we can do in the counties. We start developing our base and not actually looking at so many huge things. Mm-hmm. Because what people are required, like I saw yesterday, in fact, I was very happy. Mm-hmm. I saw like some few counties, Isiolo, Saburu, and Laikipia. Do you know what the government has done? And it's a very brilliant thing. And I think these are the things we need to embrace. Mm-hmm. Let's not keep on chasing things because they were there to be done. I looked at these three counties, and there is something which is very beautiful, Fred, which is happening. Yes. They have actually come and they have said, instead of people being nomadics, pastoralists who are just going from one area to another, they have actually come with a way that they want to tether the farmers. Mm-hmm. So that at least their farming is not going to be allowed moving from one area to another. Mm-hmm. So they are trying to resettle people, which is a very good thing. So what will happen when they resettle people? Even the issues of insecurities, they are going to be done. Yes. So they are going to deal with so many things by really. This was not in 2030. Yes. It is actually in terms of looking at the situation.
When you look at from President Kibaki, who I can say during his reign, we came up with a vision. Yeah. And he implemented some of the things. Yeah. What is the difference between him, President Uhuru Kenyatta, and President William Ruto? In the sense that there is a vision, but 6 years to the maturity date of the vision, we seem to have gone everywhere else apart from where we are supposed to be.
Fred, I want to start by thanking my dear sister from our great county of Kakamega.
Angela. You this Kakamega. This gentleman.
It is not me, Pastor David. This is Angela Kutoi from our great county of Kakamega.
Yes. At her age,
now she's heading to the Olympics. Yes. She's the African star, and she comes from Kwesero.
You had to say that.
He had to say it.
I was not the editor of this newspaper, and I even found it. You placed it on my table. It means you're also very proud of her, and we are very happy for her because I've seen her grow from the high school games into the club circuit within the country clubs, and then she started competing globally, continentally at her age, and now she's going to the Olympics as an adult player. We are very happy for her achieving her Vision 2023. This one has been achieved, and we are heading to Paris this year for the Olympics, and I'm very happy for her. As for the Vision 2030, which you've clearly said, it has taken us forever to be able to see some signs that we are getting there. The reason why, Fred, they came up with Vision 2030 was because we realized that the initial vision at independence time, the desire to see that we are able to fight poverty, illiteracy, and diseases had not yet been met. As at the time when we were trying to hit the Millennium Goals, as we called it at that time. So President Kibaki, in his wisdom, again, they said, let us reboot that vision and see that when can we eventually be able to achieve those three things, at least across the country. And first of all, one was poverty eradication. We realized we have 315 sub-counties, which, administrative sub-counties are slightly different from constituencies. So constituencies are 290. But in terms of management of public affairs, they are done per sub-county. So 315 sub-counties, when you look at the poverty level, and poverty goes hand in hand with the state of the economy in that place, because then that's where you can count jobs and income for families and how people are able to take care of their families. We are in an extremely terrible situation. You just need to go to Turkana South and West Pokot and places like Dadaab, where it's a tragedy. In a country where, in one end of the country, we are producing 6 million bags. On the other end of the country, there are 6 million people who cannot eat. And yet we are saying we are trying to hit the vision. So we failed on that one. Look at the education. If you go to Turkana South, where you have the oil fields, it's a battleground, and kids, instead of going to school, they're in the bush, armed and fighting each other, really, because they're people that belong to the same place. While on this other end of Kiambu County at Alliance High School, there's a kid who's studying to get an A so that he can go to Harvard. Yes. And both two of them are citizens of the Republic of Kenya. It's tragedy. And so in President Kibaki's well-crafted vision was that we are going to achieve this by 2030, but there are certain things that ought certain things that you ought to have done so that you're able to get to that. One of it is what I've been singing all the time is devolution. Yes. And I really hoped that we could have struck it. Had we struck the desires of devolution from the very beginning, the things even you're seeing the president now singing about full devolution of functions is what the transitional authority
was supposed to have completed
by President Kibaki shortly after the 2010 constitution. I think he had like 2 years towards 2013. They ought to have audited and quantified the functions, and so that when the next president comes in 2013, we have fully devolved function and then have a small government so that most of the resources can go back to the counties. I think you hear all the time, and even David knows this, he's a finance guy, they keep telling us almost 30% of the budget gets stolen. 30% of the budget, Fred, is almost 600 billion shillings.
30% gets stolen.
They say that is misappropriated. Yes. Yeah, and the title on this newspaper is How Governors Are Wasting Funds. And it's even worse at the national level, because the governors are just getting 15%. You should ask yourself then what happens to the 85%, which is almost like 6 times. It's 6 times what the governors are getting. So it's even worse at the national level. And you can imagine, for example, if this president was supposed to fully embrace devolution and say I have 315 counties, I want each county to get $1 billion for infrastructure. I want each county to get $1 billion for education so that our people can be skilled, and another $1 billion for manufacturing, so that then we can be able to create jobs. That means all the 315 sub-counties will have factories, at least 10 small factories, and that would mean almost 3 million jobs in one sweep. You understand? So, and it's very much within the budget. This president is looking forward to have a budget of 4.2 trillion or something like that in the next financial year. That is quite a lot of money. If they can be able to squeeze just 900 billion for development and consistently do it for the next, assuming the president will be re-elected for the next 6-7 years, then we will be talking about a different country, and we'll be close to achieving.
Have we made any progress?
We've made
because it's easy. We just 6 years to go. But probably there are things that are supposed to have been put in place to get us to a point whereby we become an industrialized country. When I look at power, there are so many things that probably have gone right, aren't there?
Okay, very quickly before he responds. We have made tremendous progress. That's why I tell you devolution was a masterstroke. There are counties you go there for the very first time, you go to Wajir, you can see a resemblance of what they would desire to see, because governance has now gotten to the people. And devolution was one of the bullets of achieving that vision 2030, and we are now almost 12 years in, and it's visible within the counties that we begin to get to progress in terms of the basics that we are looking for: poverty, education, and diseases. So the infrastructure that is needed in those particular, so that we can be able to achieve those 3 goals, in some of the counties they are visible. So we made some bit of progress.
Well, the thing is, things are happening.
Yes.
But again, if you don't know exactly what you expect, that is exactly what I'm saying.
Yes.
You will never know when you get there.
Yes.
And one of the things that we need first of all to calm down and say, if we are talking about the Vision 2030, what is it that we wanted to achieve? Because we need to measure. Because actually, in terms of when you are asking that question, you are also asking, what is it that we were supposed to do, and where are we?
Yes.
Because today we can achieve something small, but is it exactly what we wanted or what people intended in terms of Vision 30 to achieve? You may realize that, yes, there is something that is happening, but the thing is, the speed that it is happening, it may not take you. 2030 may be actually very near.
Yes.
In fact, I am seeing, and you will hear about it, and that is me, but I can also project.
Yes.
You will actually hear a Vision 2050. Very soon.
Yeah.
Because actually most of the things which are there is that you realize, quite like now he has talked about the three things. You remember one of the things that was done in a very big way was actually in terms of education.
Yes.
But the question that we need to ask ourselves right now, yes, we can see what is happening. In terms of the education, they say there is actually supposed to be 100%. Transition, which at least in one way or another we have seen there is actually a very big improvement. Improvement in terms of that.
And in the education sector, the education system was supposed to be changed.
Yes.
So that now it becomes a skills-based
curriculum.
Yes. And probably that's what.
Yes, that is the thing.
Of CBC.
So actually that's where we are saying we are actually headed somewhere. The only thing is that, and that is the other time actually we came here and we said the worst thing that happens with this government is that it doesn't actually give the milestones. Remember just another day, the county of Machakos.
Yes.
There is actually, they came so strong and they actually said about several things that they are doing.
Yes.
And when people looked at it, they asked themselves, is it actually in the same Kenya that I am in, that I am hearing some of these things which are happening? So what I think is that the government needs to speak louder about the things that they are doing, about where we are in some few areas, so that actually the people would be able to understand there is something that is happening. Because you see, like now, yesterday I had one of the county, and you know what they were talking about? Is that they want to reduce, even in terms of the fees, through the CDF, that the parent will only be paying 900 in terms of the public school.
900 shillings.
900 shillings for the child to be in school, which is actually a very good step forward in terms of actually realizing what we are talking about.
Yes.
But you see, this is something that needs to be made national, whereby we are saying these are the things that we are doing to make sure that our people get to learn, get to school. And this is the burden that we are reducing, because it is a very good thing, initiative, but the question is, how many people are knowing? In fact, you will realize there are very few people who are knowing that this is possible.
Yeah.
But it is possible in some counties.
I even remember when Kifuta Kibwana was the governor of Makueni.
Yes.
He had done such an amazing job when it comes to healthcare.
Correct.
To a point whereby counties were actually sending people to go and find out exactly what is happening there. This is something that probably the government would have scaled.
Correct.
So that now, instead of coming up with new systems that probably are not working, and you just scale something that is working so that you're able to achieve what you want to achieve.
You know, Fred, all this begins and ends with leadership. When you look at countries that we continuously praise for having done well, Singapore and all these Malaysian countries, what you call the Asian tigers, and you look at Dubai as well, the Emirates, what they've done is because the person at the helm of the country means business. And once you have a president or a leader who means business, then it translates to the very bottom. I am telling you, President Uhuru Kenyatta in 2013 had an opportunity.
Yes.
Before all these wastages, and we can talk of 10 years, 100 billion shillings of Turkana County government, and not even the governor's office is complete. You saw that there.
Yeah, sure.
10 years, and they were saying it has consumed 200 million shillings, and they still need 96 or something million to complete it. 10 years later, Turkana is one of those counties that has been, because by landmass it still gains the way allocation is done. There are factors that goes into that. They look at population, landmass, and there's that balance matrix that they use to disburse the funds. It has been getting a minimum of 10 billion shillings for the last 10 financial years. 100 billion shillings. The guy in charge of that is at State House. You understand? It's
Yeah.
some control of something.
Yes.
That state of, right next to the president. You understand? So it all begins with leadership, because then that is where you get traction. You know, you begin to move. This country, Fred, I am telling you, you know, maybe I could use just a minute to explain something.
Yes.
You know, when I started school in Taita Taveta County, at Taveta Town, there's a school there called Sowene Primary School. When I went to that school the first time, it was the only existing school in Taveta Town. And that school had only half the capacity of the classes. What it means is that it could only have one stream. You understand? So it means, but the capacity of the students was double. Those who have been to Taita and Taveta, they know we have Lake Chala and Lake Jipe.
Yeah.
So we had Chala and Jipe. I used to be in Chala. Chala, we used to come in the afternoon. So the morning students would come up to midday. And I've fond memories in the night.
From students from a different, you're saying Chala and Jipe.
There were classes
so
were named. Jipe used to come in the morning.
Oh, it's the classes that are named.
They are named.
Okay.
The names, I was just trying to make them familiar
Yes.
for those who've been to Taita. And so I was in Chala. That means we came in the afternoon. So, and I had fond memories of KBC those days, that there was a midday show, Chemshabongo. Every time the show came in, I knew it is time for me to get ready to go to school. So I would go to school and we had to be at the parade at 1 p.m. so that we can do the afternoon's classes. And because it's a semi-arid area, we had to carry our nani za maji, zile mtungi za maji, so that we can do the kunyunyiza in the area, so that the dust can settle and it's become a bit warm. Then I used to think it's normal.
You thought it was normal?
I thought it was normal, and it was tough those days in Taita Taveta district, as we called it at that time, because we didn't even have KBC itself. There was not even a television. It was darkness. You understand? The journey just from Taveta Town to Caltex, Voi, where we used to call Caltex, because of the rowdy road that was there, would take 3-4 hours. Thank God now is about 80 kilometers.
Yes.
You can just drive through quickly for a very short time. Fred, the turning point was when I got to first come to the city. And it was a historic trip, because I had never been to this part of town. And an aunt, a wife to an uncle of mine, she was Tanzania, you know, at the border there we intermarried with the Chagas. She was a Chaga, so every time she went to her village, she would pass through our home back to Nairobi, then back and forth. So it was just by default that we were hosting her that December, and she was like, can I take you to Nairobi?
Yes.
You know, we can go there, we'll collect Christmas.
Yes.
And that's how I made the big trip. First time to come to Nairobi. They used to live at South Sea there. And the day I landed at South Sea, and then I saw the Kongoni Primary School, if you those who know South Sea shopping area, the large Kongoni Primary School there, which was a Gorofa, you know, 2-story building. I knew we had been shortchanged. I knew we had been shortchanged, Pastor David. We are not in the same country, you know, and it became worse when now I went up country for further studies there in Western Province, where people now take education very seriously. And our school then, Lugulu Boarding, was a top school. And our mentors was the principal of Alliance High School, because you know the legendary Christopher Kaimba, you know, he's from Bungoma. And he would come to our class and tell us, after this, the first class, because we were divided into groups. So as index 29, I was the second last person in the first class, because we were 30. And I remember the session, because from that point, we already know that we are heading either to Alliance or Mang or our local provincial school, which was Friends School Kamsinga, which we did. And after that, we were sure that after that, we are going to MIT or Harvard. The kind of vision and the platform that you get at that school, compared to what I had left in Taita, was day and night. It clearly meant that we don't have equal chances. And that's what this Vision 2030 was supposed to do, to equalize the opportunity for Kenyans, so that a kid that reports at Maralal Primary School or Maralal High School finds the same amenities that you'll find at Mangu or at Alliance High School. You understand? Because that is where you come in and see the swimming pool the first time. You see a hockey stick the first time. But if now Fred or Pastor David loves at Mangu High School and I'm at Maralal High School and me, I'm just seeing animals and kettles, what else would I do? What else do you expect me to do?
Your vision is expanded by your exposure also.
Exactly. And that's why the education, the task force that has been proposing education reviews, they've said we now need to have a national school in every sub-county, which are 315. And then we use these top schools as a model. What kind of infrastructure is in Alliance that when a kid can come from the bushes of Garissa and learn there and achieve in life, those standards, we also have them at Garissa High School.
Yes.
So that when we report to that school from day one,
the same thing
I'm
happened.
seeing the same thing that a kid is learning. And it's possible.
And it all revolves also around the leadership of the schools, right?
But,
because if you're saying when you went to the which school was that in Western Lugulu, where you were being told, you know, a vision was placed in front of you, and you knew that from here we are going to this. This is where we are going.
It's the roadmap, actually.
Yes.
It is actually the roadmap. Let me say, you cannot get even to town if you don't understand the roadmap to town.
Yes.
You will actually keep on just oscillating. You are just moving this way and this way. Yet
a lot of movement, but no progress.
Yeah, yet the town is just here, but nobody is showing you the easiest. You know, even Google nowadays, you want actually to get to know how to get to Nairobi. It will tell you the easiest route, and the fastest route is this way. Someone else is going to go to Kariobagi. He goes down to Thika Road, then he is going to go to Muthaiga, and then goes to Kiambu, and he wants to go to town. You will realize that because people are not being given the roadmap, it is becoming so hard for people to achieve. I can tell you, and this is why we are saying, by the way, by and large, there are quite a number of things that are happening about the 2030 vision, but people cannot see them. I can tell you, like now, before Uhuru left, what is it that he did? He had actually tried to tackle the issue of health in a very big way. But did he do it in the right way? It became a political thing. Because at the end of the day, you are not putting the other people to participate in what you are doing. So you are actually coming and saying a good project, which is actually supposed to take us to 2030 vision in terms of everybody is able to access health. In fact, because George has actually talked about his region very well, can I tell you, there is one place called Namasade or something like that. And I know George could be having an idea. I don't know whether I'm calling it the right name, but can I tell you one of the things? It is a classic example of what is happening. The leadership in that place, they found it necessary to put a dispensary. That was like 3 years ago. The dispensary was supposed to cost how much? Actually, according to the tender. And I'm giving you factual information. It is not just something which I'm grotting in the dark to tell you. It was actually supposed, the tender was actually to be allowed 4 million. It was 3 point something to added name. Do you know for 4 years, that structure has never been completed? For how many years? For 4 years.
A structure.
Yes,
4 million.
4 million has never been constructed. But you see, what happened is already several monies was allocated to that structure. Yet up to today, we are not talking about a small dispensary. So what is happening is that it is poor leadership in terms of what we are doing. There are so many things, and you know, poor politics, and it is very bad. Like sometimes, you see, like in terms of 2030, what is it that is happening? We are talking about social health. You see, we are actually talking about everybody is supposed to go to the hospital and access the medical. But right now, can I ask you a question? Look at what is even happening right now.
We have a doctor's strike.
we have doctor's strike and all these things. The question that we need to ask ourselves, why is it that the doctors are actually on strike right now? It is because they had an agreement. Which year was that? 2017. They agreed on some few things. They have never been implemented. You can have so many great things, but they will flop because you don't have the right people to implement, and you are not implementing even the small steps. And that is what even we say, even for you to become rich, I can tell you, everybody to become rich. You don't just become rich one day. Maybe labda uende hii inaitwa nini? The sport pesa, patapotea, that one day. But how many people will actually get those millions and billions? It's not very many. But I can tell you it is incremental progress that we need to see. So what is happening is that we are lagging behind in terms of implementation. And also we are politicizing every other thing. And that's why he said we need someone who means business. Such that if, for example, we are saying, in terms of health, we are going to rally behind. You bring the country together, because that is actually, do you know the president is actually a symbol of unity?
Yes.
He is supposed to bring the country together. It doesn't matter, because if, for example, I am unwell, it doesn't matter which party I voted for.
Yes.
I
need to access health, I don't care whether it comes from Azimio or Kenya Kwanza.
Yes.
Get me healthy.
Like now, I was actually looking at a WhatsApp. We were sent a WhatsApp about a child who is unwell. The child who is unwell, you know what now the Kenyans people are doing? They are actually all the time actually being put into WhatsApp so that they can contribute towards even the medical bills and these kind of things.
Yeah.
What we are saying is that this is not where we want Kenya to be. We want, first of all, to be able to see. You see, if it is like this one they have been trying to implement, that everybody can access medical. We want, first of all, to look at it. What is it that we can do for Kenya?
Yes.
Leave about politics.
Yes.
It doesn't matter who gets it in 2027. It doesn't matter who gets it 2032. All what matters is, are our people safe? And this is exactly what I am saying. Right now, let's get into seeing what is it that we can do to Kenyan people. Because I can see, in fact, look at what is happening. And George is a lawyer. He can tell you many things. He has done law, he has done economics, he has done what? And he can tell you some of the things that we are happening like now. You see, there has been a discussion which has been there for a very long time, actually in this government, about the CAS.
Yes.
Now, this becomes a major thing in the country, that everybody is talking about the CAS. These are 50 people or so.
Yes.
But look at the people you are talking about in Kenya. It is around 50, how many people are there? 54 million.
Yes.
Think about 54 million and stop engaging us on
About
just
50
people. So these are the things that we are saying. Sometimes we actually lag behind because we want to reward George because George did this. We want to reward Fred because Fred did this. Can we stop this kind of a thing and we get down to see how can we tackle education? Give your example so that I move out from there.
Yes.
Have you seen what Equity Bank has done in terms of the wings to fry?
And by the way, Equity Bank, you need to advertise. You see, you're getting free advertisement.
You see, yes, that is the thing.
Yes.
Wings to fry.
Yes.
How many children have been impacted and have actually been made people in this country by the wings to fry? It is actually the partnership with the private, the government actually partnering. I could see Kibaki going to Mwangi.
Yes.
When they are having that and the children are there, they could actually go together as the government and the private. Let me ask, if we have several people like Equity and the government partnering together, you hear KCB, you hear Stanbic, you hear people like Safaricom,
yes.
All of them, they are coming together. Do you know what that can really mean to the education sector for this country? And these are the things that we are saying. Let's now have a good leadership whereby we are not always preoccupied with positions, preoccupied
and politics.
And politics, which are bad. Can I tell you, right now we can say the government is doing very well, but do you know why it is doing well? It is because of one fact: the leaders have come together.
Yes, but both the opposition.
Yes. They are actually criticizing the government where it is necessary,
yes.
But when it comes to them speaking about one country, yes. They are speaking as one country. And this is what we need, Fred. For us to realize the things that we are talking about, we need the country that is united, a country that is going together. Try to be able to see which resources can we get. We may not have all the resources of the government, but the private has these resources. So if we reduce in terms of politics and we go back into actioning, into motions,
yes.
What you realize, there are so many things that we can be able to achieve as opposed to how we are now doing our things.
So it all comes back to a vision.
Yes.
Then you said implementation.
Correct.
We have a brilliant vision.
Correct.
The Vision 2030 that was set up by Kibaki and his crew.
That was steered by Governor Oparanya and Governor Nyong at that particular time.
Yes.
Cabinet ministers, I think, for
Yes,
economic
yes.
planning and things like that.
Yes, and it achieved quite a number of things. SGR was the baby of this also. It's
was.
only that SGR became so muddled in a lot of politics and also I think corruption.
Implementation
Yes.
issues.
Politics and corruption. The roads network system in this country was part of it also.
Yes, yes.
The last mile project was part of the Vision 2030, ensuring that power or electricity gets
Correct.
to the remotest parts of this country.
Sure.
And we have done well, but we got distracted by other things. Let's just pray that as we get now very, very close towards the finish of this, obviously we need to come up with another vision.
It will.
Yeah, we get the vision.
Actually, Vision 2030 is a state, is what you call a saga.
It's a saga.
It's not a saga as in a scandal, but a semi-autonomous government agency.
Yes.
So there are people there every day, they have to wake up and see that, to sort of supervise the journey. There are people who are oversighting that journey. So it's not something that we've forgotten and done. It's just that, and I keep telling you this, I wish you could get a president that would be like President Magufuli, a president who truly wants to see Kenya succeed, because it's possible. It's actually possible to meet this Vision 2030. Fred, you know, I've told you 1 billion shillings can give you about 20 kilometers of what you call low volume bitumen. On standard, when you look at, you study the tenders, the way jobs have been offered across the country, most times, particularly for what you call, because roads are classified depending on the size and the population, the size of population they are serving. So you have what you call the low volume bitumen roads that you can do, particularly in the rural areas. It's just about 50 million, a decent one.
50 million. How many kilometers is that?
A kilometer.
Okay.
So that's like 10 kilometers per every billion shilling. That would mean that every year we put 1 billion in every constituency, we'll be doing about 350, about 3,000 or so kilometers. So in the next 5 years, we can do 15,000. Fred, the areas I've traveled, because my father being a civil servant, I got a chance to really travel. We've lived in the coast, we lived in the north, and we come from Western, I'm in central Kenya. So to traverse the country, and I used to see when he used to work in the north there, and we'd go through Isiolo and Merile, Marsabit, Sololo, Turbi, all the way to Moyale. Back then, it was a nightmare making that trip, because you were not even sure you will make it. You know, a journey across what you call the Chalbi Desert is you do hundreds of kilometers of climbing a desert mountain where you don't know what would happen next. Today, we are talking of a road that cuts through all the way to Moyale, a very neat road, one of the best ones to drive. I always tell people that with the Voi to Taveta town, because it was a very familiar road for me, and that one in the north is one of those beautiful roads to go through there if you've driven towards that side. And so it's very obvious that the potential of the country is huge, and that we can actually be able to achieve this Vision 2030, but the president must do, the current president, because he owes Kenyans service, and he owes Kenyan service, must take drastic actions towards that. One is to quickly end the business of big government and fully embrace devolution, then push Kenyans back to the sub-counties, because that's where the action is supposed to be, then have undefined, what you call intentional actions. You say, I want to do manufacturing. I'm putting 300 billion shillings in manufacturing. I want to do infrastructure. I'm putting 300 billion shillings in that. He will only need a development budget of 900 billion. Of what he has, the 4.2, we are anticipating the budget projection, according to the budget statement policy, is that they're looking forward to have a budget of 4.2 trillion. So 900 billion is not too much to ask us to develop a budget.
And just to touch on what you're saying, I remember, I think it was part of Azimio's manifesto, where each county was supposed to have something a unique product that is identifiable to that county. When I was growing up in school, some of the questions that we used to have in our papers is you would be asked, what is grown in this area? As in, there was something that was, you could, like where you know it's rice. So how come you know, if that part of the agenda would be implemented, that region would have factories that have to do, mega factories to do with rice and that kind of stuff.
Areas that we least believe in and have abandoned for years, like Northeastern. The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics says that we have about 20 to 25 million herds of cattle. 2/3 of that are in the north.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So we are talking of about 10 to 15 million heads of cattle. Even if just 1/3 of that goes into production.
Yes.
Two things. When you take, for example, 10 million heads of cattle, an average, you know, the local indigenous cattle weighs about 200 kilos. Then we are talking of 10 million by 200 is 2 billion kilos of beef. You understand?
Yes.
And with a beef now going for 500 shillings, then we are almost talking of 1 trillion shillings for just that food, that value chain.
Yes.
Two, when you have the skin, the cow skin that you have, then you're talking of 10 million hides, you know, the hides, when it's dried. They're saying each hide can produce, say, 10 shoes. So again, we are talking of 10 million by 10 is 100 million shoes that you can sell at 1,000. It's 100 billion that you can just do just from leather and from shoes and belts. That's a region that can become very rich. And it doesn't need miracles. It just needs a president who means business and say, we already have, because the structures are already there. You know, we have the 350 sub-county, they are there. There's a guy called the sub-county commissioner who then comes in, you know, when you're doing orientation in an institution, come into a new constitution, want to orient you. You know, you are all aligned to one vision.
Yes.
That you have a goal, each sub-county must deliver 10 kilometers of tarmac this financial year as a sub-county commissioner. So that would mean 3,000 kilometers every year. In the next 3 years, this president will have done 10,000 kilometers of tarmac because it's budgeted for and the funding goes directly to the sub-county economic fund and that is implemented. It is possible.
Yes.
But you see, the kind of leadership that we have hasn't quite shown that. The president has said, even, you know, the president is in Kakamega, was in Kakamega yesterday because we have an investment conference there. And in terms of expression, he's really good at it and you can tell he's passionate about devolution and the areas that he believes can transform the country, which is agriculture and manufacturing, so that we're able to create jobs. But in practice, as we speak, counties are yet to get their December money. This is the 4th month.
They are yet to
David,
get their
their December money.
December.
This is the 4th month.
Yes.
You can imagine.
Now, how are people on the ground living? I mean, the employees and that kind of stuff.
It's actually a very sad situation. And one of the things that I want, you know, where I want to depart a bit is, I know, and I don't want to really, there is some ways I may not support the county. Why I'm saying that, let's take an example, Nairobi. Nairobi County.
Yes.
If these guys, they removed corruption from their system, how much money would Nairobi County be able to raise? A lot.
Oh, a lot of money.
Would they even be looking at the government in terms of handouts?
No.
So what I am saying at the end of the day, and I think we started a very good discussion, is that we are sitting on gold. And we say this thing is coming another time.
Yes.
We are sitting on gold, but we are dying poor. The thing is, many counties are actually sitting on gold. I can tell you there is a lot that the county can be able to generate and make sure they are able to move their things. But right now, it is actually a mentality which is actually in the whole of the country.
It's a poverty mindset.
Yes.
Give me.
Yes. I can tell you, and you said it very well, there are some counties where tourism is actually a big thing.
Yes.
If only they can put enough of their attention, because that is what is the economic factor in that region. If they can put a lot of effort on that, and now they partner with the government in the whole of these things, because the issue is we can be able to assist one another to raise revenue. But you see what happens is some of the counties, and I'm not saying all, some of the governors are just sitting for handouts. Yet they are actually having so many resources in their regions which they have not even done half, even a bit. Last time we talked about like in Moranga.
Yes.
Whereby some of the people, few people are able to feed themselves. Other people in the same region are not able to feed themselves. The question is, as George is saying, there are so many people who understand, because I am in this county. I wake up in this county.
Yes.
I even when I travel, I don't travel out of the county.
Yes.
It is actually, in fact, there are some people who have never left the county.
Yeah.
So they understand the county from the beginning to the end. And they understand if we did this, it can actually transform this region. And these are the things that we really need to see happening, so that we are not going just to sit and say we are not getting monies. The question that we need to ask ourselves, what is the capacity? What is the potential of this region? Have we really activated this potential? And I think, and it is a bad thing, and I saw it, and you gave a classic example. Makueni itself.
Yes.
You find factories there right now.
Yeah.
You find even people are able actually to produce, add value even to their fruits.
In Makueni
In
County.
Makueni, yes, in Makueni County. Look, if for example, in fact, Makueni, people actually came even from other countries to be able to see the Makueni County and how a county can transform in such a manner. And this is what we are saying. If all the governors and the government, they can partner together, they would be able to generate revenue that this Kenya would actually be living in surplus. I feel poor leadership is what is making us to be where we are.
And it's very unfortunate that this gentleman who transformed his county, and so many people, as you've said, both from outside the country and locally, go to Makueni County to just see how the place has been run and transformed. When he said he would want to run for the leadership of this country,
Yes.
the people of Kenya laughed at him, and he, right now, you don't hear him.
No.
He's been thrown somewhere in the bush. We are celebrating people like a former governor of this county, who I will not name, who did absolutely nothing apart from gymnastics.
I'm telling you.
Yet this man who has great resources in his brain has not even been brought within the government to help in the implementation or policy development on how we can scale up some of these things.
Sure.
So we are trying to rediscover the wheel, yet the wheel has already been done.
Fred, I'll tell you one of the barriers that people...
As we bring this to an end.
bring it to an end. I'll tell you one of the barriers that things people like the former governor, Kivutha Kibwana, Governor Makueni, are going through is when you have a culture of a strong presidency, you then need to be able to reboot that leadership so that it's able to translate at the local level. That translation must start from the top. Because then at the bottom here, everybody is believed to, especially those who are perceived to be in government, are believed to be representing the president. That's why you look at somebody and say that one is untouchable. Because he's able to do things. Fred, we were here with you when the Auditor General was giving a report saying that our whole PS has disbursed 11 billion shillings by cash.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
And it's just gone like that. That's supposed to be a national scandal.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
But nobody's on the streets, nobody's in courts, nobody's anywhere laying, particularly those in platforms of influence that can actually mainstream such a complaint so that people are held to accountable. Because how do you carry taxpayers' money in cash to schools purporting to be taken? How do you even now
11 billion.
How do auditors like David come back and give an account that, you know, this is how this money was spent?
You dished out the money, 11 billion
11
cash.
billion shillings.
It is removing the audit trail.
So just very quickly as I finish, that it has to start from the top. The president must be intentional in the things that he's saying. And in a country where we still have a culture of a lethargic public service, the president must lead the way in transforming the public service so that then it can translate to the service to the people, because the president can't be the 800,000 public servants.
True.
So it has to start from the top, then we can change our culture going down.
Few seconds, your closing comments.
The thing is, Kenya has the potential. We need to see change in terms of leadership. As we change in terms of leadership, we will be able to achieve what we are yearning to achieve. Even earlier, even 2030 we can achieve, but we need to change our mind.
True. A mindset change is what we need. I still remember last week on Friday when we talked about an 80-year-old grandma in Moranga, David's mom, who is basically earning her own. 80-year-old. She's being given money by the son. She says, I've made enough. Yet in the same county, you have people who have bigger lands than she has, and they're younger, and they're sleeping hungry. It's up here.
Correct.
We have to change what we are seeing, how we are seeing, to be able to achieve what we need to achieve. And until we do that, then we will keep on singing this song year in, year out. Let's get tired of that song and change the tune. For Kenya is a blessed country.